So there was a new patch on FIFA recently that kind of did some decent things as well, but overall, it kind of sucks. Like I said, they kind of nerfed some of the things that need to be nerfed, they buffed some things that need to be buffed, but the passing is just so much worse for absolutely no reason, and they didn't really change anything besides just the direct passing, the driven pass, so I'm not sure why passing is just horrible now. So in order to combat this, we have found arguably the best tactics and formation, at least post-patch, for this game. So guys, like I said, we have arguably found one of the most fun and overpowered formations, tactics, and instructions that we have kind of seen in this entire game. It's putting me in a very, very good spot in the elite divisions, and I think it is a lot of fun because it is a very attack-minded formation as well, while also providing some very good defensive cover. Now, the formation in question is the 4-1-2-1-2 narrow. Now, we did make a video over this a few months ago, I believe. However, with the new patch coming out and with passing being what it is now, I feel as though the 4-1-2-1-2 is a lot better, and along with that, I feel as though with narrow formations and overlapping fullbacks, I feel as though that is incredibly overpowered this year, and that's exactly what you get with this formation. Now, I did find these tactics and instructions from Shawarma? I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but either way, his stuff will be in the description down below. However, there are actually a few key differences that I make in my own instructions and tactics compared to his, and I'll be sure to highlight that as well. And if I don't mention it, that means a lot of that stuff is going to be from him as well. So let's not beat around the bush, let's just get straight into the tactics and instructions. For the defense, we have balance on the defensive style, we have 35 for the width, and we have the depth at 71. Now, I do 71 because, you know, as you can see, the instructions and the description changes between 70 and 71, and I assume that makes a small difference, even though it's just one difference there because, you know, it's EA. We don't really know what's going on. Width is at 35, defensive style on balance, and the width is at 35, which is fine because once, you know, we go into the instructions, we'll go in deeper in depth, but our left and right center mids are actually on cover wing besides cover center, which means they're going to go out wide and help a little bit defensively, which means our defenders can push in a little bit more narrowly. For the attack now, we have the build-up play on balance, we have chance creation on direct passing, width at 37, players in the box at 7, and then of course corners and free kicks, you can do what you please. Now, there is a difference here between me and Shari, and that is the width. He has it on 30, while I have it on like 37 to 40, and that is because I feel as though when it is on 30, that the players are kind of just on top of each other. Now, it is already a narrow formation, and I want to play in a narrow way, that's fine, especially with the overlapping fullbacks. However, again, on 30, I feel as though they're just on top of each other, and there's no room to kind of breathe or make some decent runs. So again, we want it not as narrow as him, at least in my opinion. And then for the chance creation and players in the box, these two things go hand in hand. For the direct passing, they're just going to be making those runs in behind regardless of what the instructions are. Players in the box at 7, that means there's going to be obviously a lot of players making those runs into the box, and with 2 strikers, right, that means there's going to be a lot of, you know, people going forward in those areas. So those things kind of all just kind of go hand in hand with each other. Now, tactics in general aren't something that you need to follow to a T. You can probably switch some things around, right? Maybe you start with these, but if you notice that the width is maybe a little bit too narrow, you can put that up a little bit more. If you notice that players in the box at 7 is, you know, a little bit too much, you want to knock it down a little bit, then feel free to, right? Again, these are just some guidelines, but you should also, you know, obviously change it to what you want to do, which is obviously a little bit different compared to the instructions, which we really highly recommend you follow, which we're going to get into next. So just like the tactics, if there are any differences between me and Shari in the instructions, I will make note of it. But just starting out with the instructions one by one, we'll start with the goalie. For comes for crosses and sweeper keeper, the 2 center backs are on default everything. The left and right back are both on overlap. The defensive mid is on stay back while attacking, cover center. The right center mid, or the one who is more attacking, it doesn't need to be the right one, is on default everything. And then the more defensive center mid is just on stay back while attacking. The center attacking mid is on default everything, and then the 2 strikers are also on default everything. Now, I do want to make a note of the center attacking mid, because there is actually a small glitch that happens in the 4-1-2-1-2, 4-3-1-2, 4-2-3-1 narrow, where if you leave them on default defensive support rather than stay forward, that center attacking mid will actually drift back to a left wing back, left mid, left defensive mid, left center mid area, right? They don't actually stay at center attacking mid, they drift back into that left-sided defensive area. Now, personally, I always hated that. However, in this regard, it's actually not that bad of an issue, because that means defensively, your team turns into a 4-4-2. So again, what will happen is that in this 4-1-2-1-2 setup with your center attacking mid, they will go and play, again, left defensive mid, left center mid, left mid, wherever it is. So they'll take up a spot defensively, and then because your left and right center mids are on cover wing, they'll go out to play left wing back, left and right defensive mid, left or right back as well, which means that your center attacking mid kind of slots in and acts like another center mid or a defensive mid next to your other, lone defensive mid. Now, in terms of what is different between me and Shari, there are a few key differences in here. For one, I have the fullbacks on balanced attack compared to stay back while attacking. Now, I prefer balanced attack for a couple reasons. One, I feel as though narrow formations that have overlapping fullbacks or wingers or left and right mids, whatever they may be, is extremely overpowered, which is obviously what we have with a 4-1-2-1-2 narrow. And then again, because balanced attack on the wingbacks, they're going to be overlapping. Along with that, I feel as though it's a lot easier to break down the constant press if that's what your opponent does, because what will happen is if your opponent does that, that means his attackers are going to be marking your left and right backs, which makes sense because they're the ones that are going to be closest to those players. And so if you are on balanced attack with your left and right backs, they're going to be making runs forward, and then your opponent's attackers are not going to track back all the way to actually mark them, which means typically those left and right backs who are making runs forward are going to be open. And if not, that means, the center backs or the left and right backs for your opposition are going to be marking them instead, which then frees up one of your strikers. So again, someone should be open if you have them on balanced attack. Now, balanced attack is not perfect. Obviously, you are a little bit more susceptible to counterattacks on balanced attack. So if you are maybe not great defensively, stay back while attacking is a good option. I've used both of them for a good amount of games as well. I do enjoy both of them. It's just I prefer the balanced attack a little bit more. But again, you just have to decide what is best for you. So try some games out with both the balanced attack and both stay back while attacking, and then decide for yourself. The other key difference is the two strikers. Shari has them both on get in behind, while again, I have them just on default everything. Now, personally, I don't really see a need for having them on get in behind, especially because we have direct passing in the tactics, and we have 7 players in the box for that tactic as well, meaning that we're going to see a lot of players making runs into the box, and with direct passing, they're already going to be on get in behind essentially. So if you have them on get in behind, which kind of just tacks on to the tactics which are already essentially telling them to get in behind, there are times where they're just living offside, right? Now, again, there are instances where get in behind is not a bad thing. However, I have usually preferred just mixed attack because one, they on the tactics side, they're already on get in behind, but two, in the counterattack and the build-up, I feel as though they help out in those regards a little bit more as well. And again, just like with the fullbacks, make sure you try the games with both mixed attack or the default settings and also on get in behind, and then again, decide for yourself. So next we are going to go over the actual gameplay, and I'm going to highlight some things that I do want you guys to kind of look for when you are in the game. And first thing is the overlapping fullbacks. I did mention that I prefer them on balance because I feel as though that they're going to be open very consistently and they're going to be scoring goals. I mentioned that, Cloud Maurice at right back and Atal at left back are just open just virtually all the time, and this is a video that kind of proves it here. So first thing I want you to notice is take a look at my fullback here, right? We have Cancelo here, who is completely wide open because the defenders are too focused and they're too pushed in on the center mids, the center attacking mid, and the strikers. That means if we send forward someone like here with Keane, we have Cancelo, I believe in this case, making this great run into this wide open space. Now, Keane was, thankfully able to get the ball out, and then we score a goal with Cancelo. But again, right, these types of things are always going to be open, because what will happen is there's going to be, all of this focus on one side because we have a narrow formation, which will bring the opposition players over to that side. And if you have this overlapping fullback like we did here, that is going to free up so much space for that little cross or that little run in behind. The next point is to be sure not to get caught on the wings, especially when you are using a left or right center mid. So in this case, with our overlapping fullback here, which is obviously also going to exacerbate the issue just a little bit, we don't really have anyone to pass to, and we're going to have to go backwards. So we kind of have a little nice counterattack here. We have players going forward, we have our right back going forward, which is great. However, there's not anyone that's completely open. So even though we have numbers, no one is exactly open. And so I have Harry Kane, who is my right center mid. I'm going, down the wing with the ball with him. And unfortunately, right, again, there's no one open. I kind of feel trapped here. And so there's not really a great option to do anything because, again, no one's open here, because Harry Kane, who is our right center mid, he would be the one typically filling up this space right here, which means that, again, with our defensive mid on stay back while attacking, we're going to have to either dribble in with Harry Kane, who's not great at dribbling, or we're going to have to pass it all the way back. And in this case, he starts to trap me a little bit, and unfortunately, we do have to pass it all the way back. So make sure that when you are dribbling with your left or right center mids, or virtually anyone, make sure not to drag them too far out to the side unless it is a fullback and you have someone making those runs kind of inside near the middle. The last thing I want to talk about is the counterattack capabilities. Like I mentioned, this is a 4-4-2 in defense and then a 4-1-2-1-2 in the attack. Now the 4-1-2-1-2 in the attack is inherently attacking, and the 4-4-2 in defense is pretty much inherently defensive, which means you can go from defense to attack just like that. And obviously the counter-attacking meta is obviously something that's very, very big in FIFA anyways. But like I said, this is something that, you go from a defensive formation to an attacking formation just by not doing a certain instruction on your center attacking mid. So we get the ball with João Cancelo and we immediately look for the counter attack and we just start going, right? Here's Keane, who is our center attacking mid. He was playing again like left defensive mid. He helps in the build-up play. We send Icardi on this long run forward, and this guy has to make a decision. He makes the wrong one by bringing out his goalie. We have João Cancelo, wide open goal. We go for the finesse and it's open. So again, one thing you really want to look out for is those quick counterattacks where you have your strikers get in behind, which I will say is an argument to have your strikers on get in behind. So that is going to do it for this video, guys. If you do have any questions over the 4-1-2-1-2 narrow instructions and tactics, let me know and I'll try to answer them in the comments. But like I said, that is going to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been DMG. Peace.